Right, well this episode is going to be a bit geeky, I'm afraid, but if you can put up with, I'm going to go through explaining the code as well as what we're doing. So this area here is, I built the canal several thousand blocks away from base, and I discovered as the canal went past, there was this mob spawner on the surface. It was surrounded by a fair bit of dirt and stuff, so I've cleared it out completely in order to make an area that we can actually get the turtles working, and you can see how the mob spawner area is built round, how the bubble elevator works and everything. So this was a good opportunity also to explain how the code works. So first job is to get this turtle up close to or underneath that thing there. So let me just mark it with a torch so that I know where I'm heading. I suspect that's not quite right. Yeah, I think we're pretty good. So we'll first of all just get it there. So we go forward 5, right, forward 5. Yeah, I think we're there. I'll break that and forward once more. Okay, so I think that is now directly underneath the spawner. So let's move it up. So we'll go up 4. Good, it's immediately underneath, so that's all ready to go. So now we can start the geeky stuff. So in order to get things working, it's TK for Toolkit, and this is the menu that you're familiar with. So this is the start of the geeky bit, so you might want to shoot past this lot, but here's the Toolkit code, and I'm at the bottom level of it, which you can see it's currently 5.5+ thousand lines. If I go to the top of it, all you've got at the top here is a version number, which is the date in reverse and the time this was last altered yesterday. The only variable we've got here is the args one, which takes the 3 dots. Now this is a Lua thing, and it allows you to pass parameters if you're calling it directly. So most times you won't be using that, but when you auto start a farm, then it uses this bit here. So the only other variables we've got is a menu and capital T, which is short for turtle. So when this thing runs, the interpreter will completely ignore all these because they are functions, and it will come right to the bottom, and then this is the only line that actually runs main. Now main is currently at the bottom of the list, everything else is just about in alphabetical order. So let me show you main. It's a relatively small function. So first job when you fire it up is it calls the routine called check label. I won't go into that at this stage, but that just makes sure that the turtle has got a label set so that it can download various files. The next section checks whether the library of functions is available, including this one, the turtle class. Again, I won't go too much into detail on that one. So assuming that it's found everything it's supposed to find, then we've got this first thing, which is the requiring of the menu function. So let me find that for you. So here's the menu library. So again, it's got some text here to tell you how it all works. The function new here is what runs the menu, which you see here. So this will produce the menu depending on what you supply it with which is the prompt and the options. So if we go back to the main file here, this one here just initializes the menu, gets it ready to be used. It's not actually being used just yet, it's there ready. This one here, capital T, is require the turtle class, and this here, if you're familiar with classes, is the way Lua does them. So it uses metatables and all kinds of fancy stuff, but you've got the same principle that you have got getters and setters, and you've got various methods, which are these ones down here. Again, there's 2,500 plus lines of code there, which you can use from any other program. So that capital T then stands for the turtle object. We've not got any arguments running, so it ignores this because there's no arguments, and it runs to down here, and its first function is to get the task. So get task is the one that we are running the menu for. So if we go to that, and this one gets if these things up the top here are just kind of used later on, so these are all variables and other options that are being set. With Lua, it has this great thing you can do where you can we've already got a function here which is get task, and because the functions are within a table, you can have a sort of subset of functions that are specific to this function. So they're sort of quite useful because you can keep them very local to what you're doing. So this then runs the main choice equals the menu prompt, and it gets all the options that we're looking for. So I'll move that out of the way for the minute. So here we are, we're on our options, so geeky stuff over for the time being. So what we wanted to do this time was to do the mob farm tools, which is 6. So we get a sub menu which works in a similar way, and we now want to create the 9x9 cube around spawner. So we can hit 1 there, and then it says place me in contact with the spawner above, below or facing the spawner block to create a 9x9 hollow cube. Enter to continue. So if I escape from that at the moment, we've already done exactly what it asked. We've placed it up against the spawner. So it wants some cobblestone, so we'll put 1, 2, 3, 4 in there. And it wants a slab, so I haven't got that with me. I'll just pause for a second and go and fetch that. Right, so I've got a slab. I'll just put one of those in there. So that's now ready to go. So it's first of all just getting itself on top of the spawner and laying its slab. Now normally this of course would be occurring more underground, and so it's a bit difficult to see what it's actually doing. But here we can see that it's starting to build the top corner of the spawner. So if I stand under here, so that is the sort of this side that we're standing on here. That's the first block of that side, and it's now going along building this one. You can see the rough layout that this will follow down here. So this was a partial chamber when I discovered it, but there wasn't a lot left of it, so I've destroyed it. You'll notice compared with the earlier video showing how the spawner works, instead of having a block of 4 cobble up here, I've now just put a single slab which does the same job. It stops them spawning directly on top and then kind of huddling together. It's probably not necessary, but it might help. So we're now just going round the corner. Okay, I'm not going to spend too long on each section of this building process. You can see the general principle. It's obviously got to go round here and round here. So I'm going to keep skipping ahead until it gets to a different section. Okay, so it's just approaching the starting point at this corner. So it's now going to fill in the ceiling. This is a faster operation because it's not having to turn at each section here. So this would be a good point to go geeky again. So I'm just going to escape from here and show you the code. So the functions that are running at the moment is the one at the top here, which is, if I can remember, I think it's create the mob. There we are, somewhere around here. Oh, here it is, it's create mob farm cube. So this was the first bit you saw. We've got just a simple Boolean variable here, on top is false, so that's set by default. Now we want to find out where are we. So we're using a variable called block type, and this uses the turtle class to get whatever block type is down. Obviously we had air below, so if there was no air, then it would ignore that. So it's let me show you what block type looks like. Right, so this is the turtle class, get block type. Self is used in interpreted languages like Python and Lua, so that's to be expected, but basically it just takes one parameter, which is the direction, so we asked it to check down. It uses inside the class here the turtle inspect, so we've got either turtle inspect up, inspect down, or inspect. So these are built-in APIs for the turtle. I have no control over those, but it produces two pieces of information: a Boolean success, whether or not it has inspected something, because if it's air, that would be false. Anything else comes up with true. And then there's a data table which gives you what has been found in there. The data table has a number of different things in it. It no longer has metadata, but this was from an older version of Computercraft, but I've left it in for backwards compatibility. So the data.name is the one that actually gives you what you've found. For example, Minecraft : log. So we were looking for Minecraft : I'm not sure if it's spawner or whether it has a particular type of spawner. I've not really checked, but the word spawner will definitely be in it. And then it returns the block type that we found, which will either be an empty string if there's no block. The modifier is probably nil because data metadata doesn't exist. And then the table of data itself. So that's what we get from there. So we'll return to that one. So we're now using the Lua find function to see whether the word spawner is inside the string block type. And if it is, then we know that we're on top of the spawner because we were looking down. If on top is still false, then we're going to check upwards, which is what we did just now. We found the word spawner in there, and then we went in this direction. This is similar to the direct go that you can type in from the turtle, sort of like go in these directions, which I'll show you at a later stage. So basically, capital B means back 1, capital U means up 2, and F means forward 1. So it's a way of stringing together a list of commands. So again, I'll just briefly show you that, then the geeky bit will be over. So the go function inside the turtle class is very long, very large. It's extremely useful because it enables you to just send simple strings with numbers to get it to do a whole bunch of stuff. So, for example, if you want it to move forward 1, you would send it F1, and then it will move the turtle forward by that amount, 1 in this case. So this is where it starts to get really complicated, because what we're calling is not turtle.forward, which is the built-in API. We're using a similar one that's built into this class. So the class turtle.forward, and then we're passing it a number. So let me show you that. If we can find the forward one. I think that's towards the top. Yeah, me out. So we've got turtle forward, again the self parameter, and the number of steps. How many times do we want to move forward? So we're using the turtle, again another function within this class. So we're using the class turtle do moves, the direction and the number of steps. This is where your head starts to hurt. So we're now calling yet another function which does some quite clever stuff here. As you know, or if you've used the turtle in Lua, you'll know that there is a turtle dot forward, and then it has brackets on the end of it. You can see here that move has been assigned to turtle.forward, but without the brackets. So what this does is that it uses a simple variable to represent a function. You can do the same in Python, which is not that well known, but it works well, and it's quite a good thing to do. So we can then change that function if we wanted to go, for example, turtle up, if the move is an up direction, or if it's turtle.down. You're assigning this one variable with whichever variant of the turtle's movement, up, down or forward, and similarly with whether it digs in front or detects in front, up, down, whatever. So that's a great little assignment that's being done there. I've deliberately make it so that if you make the turtle go back, it will automatically turn itself right twice, because if there's something in the way, it can't break things from behind, it has to face them. So I automatically turn it round to do a back movement. It then detects whether there's sand and gravel in front if it's going to break it. It also detects with this bypass function here if you have bedrock, and it will also check for chests and upper things. So again, I don't want to go too far into detail, but it will either return to you the number of blocks moved or an error message if there is some kind of error. So geeky moment over. We'll go back to what we're doing here. So this is now filling in using one of the go commands, which can be all strung together and make a really complex maneuvers look quite simple. Okay, so again we'll quit out of this and come back when we're ready. Okay, it's almost finished the ceiling, so the next layer is for it to come down by 1. That's just going back to its starting position. There we go. And it's now doing the second layer round here. Now, as it doesn't need a ceiling, this won't take quite so long, because although it will track backwards and forwards across to destroy any blocks that are in the way, but that won't take too long because there are no blocks in the way. So again, I'll speed it up till we get back to this corner here. Okay, so it's gone down another layer and it's now doing the third one. So this pretty much remains the same now until it reaches the floor level. So I'll not bore you with watching this any further until it reaches the floor level. However, I'll just pause it for a minute just to go geeky again with some of the code that's running. So let's go back to where we were here. So we originally started on top of the turtle here. Drag that across a bit. And then went down. If for any chance you had started this off nowhere near a spawner, then it wouldn't have found the spawner. So on top would always remain false, in which case this whole thing would just quit and tell you, spawner not found, place me on top, immediately below or facing it. And that would then wait for you to respond by pressing the enter key, and then that's it, the program's finished. So assuming it was where it was supposed to be, then this is again these t.go things. The reason we use a colon is this again is a Lua thing. It's a way of calling a function within a class using the actual class itself. If you put a single dot, you'd have to put t dot up and then t comma 1, which is the self thing. So this is just a kind of a neat way of doing it, but you'll learn that as you do your Lua stuff. So this one here, it moved the turtle up 1 and it placed the slab down on top of the spawner, and then it did all these other things. So all these things here are what it's currently doing. So for the first 2 layers, it did just checking round to make sure there was nothing in the way. Then it goes around the spawner, and then it does the 3 layers below, and then it goes to the floor, and there's special functions here to deal with the floor. So I'll leave all that there, and I'll get back to you once the turtle's at floor level. So we're getting close to the floor now. So it's just on its sort of final run on this level. So pretty much done here. Now it's important with the floor that the floor is solid underneath, and then it has a second layer built on top of it. So what it's currently doing is it's gone down 1 level, and it's going to check again the sides here and the subfloor here first. Then once it's done that, it comes back to this corner. It will come up 1 level and then fill these gaps in here and fill the floor in here, unless it's already got things here. So what I'm going to do is just create a couple of deliberate holes for it to fill in when it gets to that stage. So again, I'll pause until it gets back to this corner, and then you can see how it deals with the rest of this floor. Okay, so it's back at the corner, so it should now sort the rest of this floor out row by row. So although it seems a bit daft having to break the blocks and then put them back again later, it makes sense because it's important that the subfloor here doesn't have any holes in it. So let me just make that couple of missing ones in there. And you can see it's filled in the one that I deliberately made a hole in here. So that will make sure this subfloor is okay. The reason for that will become evident when this area is flooded, and the new method of flooding it so that we have a bubble elevator means that you put a single block of water here and here on the main floor, and then you dig out part of the floor at this end, and you have to dig the floor out after the water is put down, otherwise it doesn't flow properly. So that's what all this grief is for, of having to keep digging and redoing floors. It just has to fit with the mechanics of the game. So again, actually it's pretty much at the corner now, so might as well leave it running, and you will see it come up and do the floor that we're currently standing on. There we are, it's up. Okay, so it's now filling in the walls and putting this second floor in, so obviously I'll have to keep an eye on that and get out the way at the appropriate time. Okay, so it's almost finished the outer ring of the floor, and now it's going to fill in the rest of the blocks here. I'm just going to check to make sure it's got enough cobble. It should have. Yeah, we've got plenty. I had to refill it earlier off camera. It left a gap in the wall because it had run out of cobble, so I should have put more in at the start, because that won't happen normally, because these things are normally underground, and so the amount of cobble you need is quite small, because it creates its own as it goes along. So that'll fill in the rest of the floor, and then it will just come to rest in, I can't remember which corner. I've marked this one with a torch, so that's the front with the torch lower down, and that's the back. So I want the water to go against this wall once we've done. Okay, so it's finished its job. It's stopped there. We've got a complete 9 by 9 hollow cube, spawner in the centre, and a slab on top of it. I'm doing this in peaceful mode, obviously, for to make it easier to do that. But now we can get it to do the water supply. So I want it to do the water against this wall. So I'm just going to turn it round. Now we don't need to kind of move it into anywhere special. It'll find its own route here. So we're now going to run the toolkit again. This time mob farm tools as before, and then we want to flood the mob farm floor, which is 3. So it tells me to face the wall where we want the sources to start. If you do not have soul sand, add dirt as a temporary place marker. Make sure you have an escape route. Enter to continue. So 2 Minecraft water bucket. Two fence. And 2 signs. Just before I add the next sign, I'm going to go into creative mode so that I can get out of the way while it's doing its stuff here, so we don't get in its way and get flooded. Oops, wrong one. There we go. Right, so we're in creative mode, and we can now add the other sign. Oh, slab, of course. Right, soul sand, yep. So we've got a full inventory. Right, we're ready to go, so we can get out of the way. So it's finding now the corners of the wall by just running up until it hits the wall, reverses backwards, drops the bucket of water. Now this is what I was saying, it's now going to dig the floor, but if you do this first and add the water later, because of the water mechanics, you get a missing row here, so you have to do it after the water has been put down. So it's now been programmed to delete these blocks here. I'll watch it from another direction. I'll take that torch out a little bit higher just so that we can see what's going on. So this is following a farm that I saw on a YouTube video of the design. I thought was quite clever. All I've done is translate it into code. So the next thing it will do is to return to the centre here, break through the wall and plant the fence down here, go through the fence down below again, soul sand and it will come through, put a sign down here, half block up here, and then finally a sign on there, fill up the gap it's made, and then sit on the soul sand ready. So there we go. We've now got, as you can see, I'm flowing into it even in creative mode, so the bubble lift will go up there once things have been put on the soul sand. So next job is just to get rid of that torch, and I can't get out of that way because the turtle's in the way, so I'm just going to make a temporary escape route over on the wall here. That'll do. If I can get out of it. There you go. Right, so we're now ready to do the final bubble lift. Let's just see how we're doing for time. It's 30 minutes. Yeah, I think we can get that done in this video. So we'll do that now. So right click. Okay. And then we want the mob tools again and create the mob bubble lift, which is section 4. Now we're standing outside the cube, so we want the kill zone. I want it on the left side here, and we're outside the cube. So I'm going to press 0. 2 Minecraft water buckets, so I've just got to go and fetch those, and then we'll return. Okay, so I've got the buckets of water here. Those are in. Okay, it's ready to go. So what this will do, let's just move out the way, is it's going to build a tower here, but leave this side open. I did try originally to make a single hollow tower, and the turtle would go up and down and try and drop the water sources one by one. For some reason it just didn't work, so this way works better. So I'm going to switch back to creative mode and get the light set up so that we can continue. Okay, so we'll follow this up to the top here. So it's now building this, as you can see, kind of a 3/4 tower around the top here. Once it reaches 19, I think it's 19 blocks above, it will then start to build an extension across here and then drop it down again. But it builds the extension first and uses that as a temporary reservoir for the water. So you'll see how that's done. Right, it's building the top now. Okay, so you've got this little chamber now setting up here. So it's building the top of a 2-block high corridor, and we'll bring it out 7 blocks, and then under here, shift down, you've got the turtle will run up and down on the outside of this column, and when it reaches the top here, it knows, okay, I've reached the top, go forward, grab some water, and then go down again, ready to place it. And we'll do that repeatedly until it's filled up this column here with water sources. So let me get out of the way. So it's done the top, it's now going down to the bottom. It'll come back later once it's finished doing the water sources and complete this downward column here. What I'm going to do for purposes of the tutorial here is I'm going to break the top off of this structure and then put it back again once we've finished. I think that'll probably do. Okay, so it's built the entire track here. Next thing to do is it's going to build a water source for itself. So two cobble blocks there, bucket of water in each end, and then it can refill the buckets from the middle. And it's now going down, if we can chase it. So it's put the first source of water there, and then it builds up. So as you can see, the bubbles are rising. So this is working. We've got the soul sand bubble column being built. We chase it up to the top. It's refilled, coming down. Put the water in, go up, seal it, go up, seal it. So it'll just repeat doing that until it's reached the top. So again, we'll pause at this point. Right, it's pretty much at the top of the column now. So we'll now go in and watch what it does up here. So it's refilled the buckets. It realizes it's at the top because it can't go down anymore. So it's now going to destroy this water source by filling it up with cobble. That's the only way that it can now delete water. Turtles used to be able to delete source blocks by running through them, but that doesn't happen anymore, which is a bit annoying. But we can get over it by deleting them by placing and digging blocks. So once it digs the last one, that water now flows to the end bar 1, so that any mobs that come up here will get taken along here and fall down the column there. So I'm just going to repair this while I'm in creative mode, and then we can return back to the bottom. Again, don't need to show you how it's doing this, it's just building a simple 4-block tower. So we'll wait for it at the bottom here. Okay, so it's now reached the ground and it's finished its column. It's now going to make itself another corridor back towards the original block here. Remember, this would all normally be completely underground. It's only because this spawn has to be at the surface that we can see all of this. Once it reaches here, it will stop. I've gone back into survival mode. That should be it. Yep, there we are. So that's now finished. So what we'll do is I'll just make myself a passageway in, fill it back up, and we'll go and put the mobs back on. So let's just escape from this. Options, normal, done, back to game. Now I've got splashing, swimming, skeleton rattles. Yep, so they're obviously being generated by the mob spawner. So any minute now they should start to come down. I'll use my axe first because, there we go. Single whack with the axe is doing a nice job here. I assume others are coming shortly. So that shows you how you can use a turtle to create a mob spawner. What design you use around here is entirely up to you. What I'm going to do for the next video is to adapt this area to kind of fill it in properly and show you how you can use, get rid of that lot, show you how you can use a turtle, a non-advanced turtle, so it's very cheap to build without a diamond axe. We don't need that, just with a crafting table and a series of chests poking out from it, so the turtle can rotate in any direction without using fuel. So we can get this to act as both a hopper to draw in all this floating debris down here, turn around and sort it out. And even better, if it's got the crafting table attached, it can actually craft all the bows that the skeletons drop into, because they're normally damaged, and it can craft them into fully functional bows for use in dispensers and other things. So that will be the next video.